Hey, what's going on, guys? Owen Straley, Steelers Depot here, back continuing my series reviewing the Steelers cornerback position from 2019. And today we're going to take a look at fan favorite in Mike Hilton. And just as I'm recording this, I get the news that Mike Hilton signed his second round tender. So some good news right there. And back to Mike Hilton, we're going to look at, I think a lot of the conversation I've been hearing this offseason centered around the Steelers need a third safety to be more versatile with their packages on defense. And while I certainly agree with the sentiment that the Steelers needed a third safety, I don't necessarily agree that they needed it to be more versatile as a defense because, in all reality, you talk about big nickel, you talk about these different formations. Mike Hilton is that guy, and I think, especially when you look at how the Steelers were using him, where they would take him off the field on later downs with Cam Sutton coming in, acknowledging that they believe he's a better coverage defender. I think you really have to look at Mike Hilton as kind of a quasi-hybrid safety linebacker on early rundowns, as much as he's going to be a slot corner, which he also shows good proficiency with that. But going into the tape, it's plays like this that make me say the Steelers do not need a safety to play big nickel, because I don't even know if a safety could make a play like this. So we're going to see it here. Mike Hilton, probably the best in the league out of any DB in general at blitzing off the edge. We've seen him. It's been a fixture of the Steelers defense since 2017, and doesn't necessarily get a ton of sacks off of it, but certainly Mike Hilton makes a living in the backfield, second among all DBs and tackles per loss, behind only Jamal Adams since he's come into the league in 2017 with the Steelers. So very impressive. And just going into the specific play here, we're going to look at it. Seahawks try to get the Steelers with some split zone. Chris Carson's coming downhill. Steelers counter that with the signature Mike Hilton off the edge blitz, sending 5. But you want to see from Hilton here, never stops his feet. He's like a heat-seeking missile. Comes off the edge, is able to flatten down, reading run. He's able to get to where he knows Chris Carson's going to be. But then also, for a 5'8", 180-pound defender, packs an absolute punch on this blow here. And that's one thing I love to see about Mike Hilton. He plays with reckless abandon, and he is an absolute hitter. So we'll take a look at the tight here, but just great run fill from Mike Hilton. And you see the violence that he takes down Carson with. That's getting some absolute movement on that. So good stuff right there. So here, week 3 against the 49ers, and I think this play and a lot of what I'm going to show is really going to keep demonstrating a lot of what I've been talking about in terms of Mike Hilton is more than just a slot corner. I mean, he functions as a sub linebacker, like does a lot of good things and is an effective run stopper on the edge out there. So kind of mitigates their need for a big nickel. But going into the play, we're going to see here, we'll take a look from the tight after this run, but just good stuff from Hilton. So design blitz, he's coming in, allowing TJ Watt to become more of a contained defender. Hilton's actually crashing inside of Watt. But you're going to see Mike Hilton here. This is stuff that no other slot corner in the NFL is doing. Fighting off a block from a tackle before scraping down the line and eventually making a tackle with Cam Hayward for a 2-yard gain on the play. But that's, I mean, aggressive hand use, fighting off the block from the tackle, disengaging, getting down the line, and making a good run stop. Like, Mike Hilton is an effective run defender and is a big nickel type defender. So here, week 4 against the Bengals, and we're going to take a look at a play that I think really not only highlights Mike Hilton's improvement in 2019, but also Keith Butler and Mike Tomlin in terms of their calling of the defense and their usage of the players. So we're going to look at 2018. We were seeing a lot of teams starting to pick on the Steelers' tendency to blitz Mike Hilton a little too much with hot reads and different things, and it's just becoming too predictable off the edge. So you had a wrinkle like this with Hilton clearly looking like he's going, and then with the Steelers in their 2-man under look here, Hilton's then able to go into a trail technique knowing that he has help over the top. So we're going to see it in here. Fakes the blitz, does a really good job actually by being really late to getting back to it. So it gives the false read that Tyler Boyd here is going to be uncovered. And Mike Hilton ends up playing him from inside out. So he just opens to the inside knowing that if Tyler Boyd goes deep, Minka Fitzpatrick's over the top here. So he just plays him inside out and just waits on his back hip for anything coming out. Shows very good eye discipline right here. I want you to see as Boyd breaks out, Hilton stays eyes locked on Boyd, gets to him before looking back, locating the ball for a good pass breakup here. So while Mike Hilton's not exactly known particularly for his coverage, he's an adequate player in that department and had a solid year in coverage. So good stuff from Hilton here. So here later in the game, and we're going to take a look at one of the best traits to Mike Hilton's game, and that's just his ability to evade blocks in the open field. So you think about Mike Hilton, about 5'8", 180, not the longest wingspan, not the longest reach. He's not going to do very well when he allows guys to engage him, get into his chest, and just kind of use their strength against him. So I think one of the things we've seen Hilton in terms of his ability to live in the backfield and be such a disruptor at such a small size is his ability to evade blocks just like here. So receiver comes out for the stock block, Joe Mixon coming back on a jet motion, shovel concept, and Hilton doesn't do anything fancy here, but just it's almost like a receiver at the line, the way he is able to go one way, then quickly get back the other way and evade blocks. And it's as one of my coaches told me, is being blocked and allowing yourself to be blocked is a choice. And Mike Hilton never chooses to allow himself to be blocked. He always has eyes on the ball carrier, and he's always quick and decisive movements to get there. And it's stuff like this, Mike Hilton's run defense on the edge, that has allowed the Steelers to be such a good defense, especially in 2019. And then the last part, I would say good physical finish here from Hilton. So overall, good rep. So here again in the Bengals game, we're going to take a look at Mike Hilton here as a zone defender. So Steelers in cover 2 here, and Mike Hilton playing nickel is going to end up being a hook curl defender here. So he's got an underneath zone, and he plays it pretty well in terms of he plays it top to bottom, which is what you always want to do, as in gain depth first so that nothing gets behind you, and then work to everything in front of you. And then he also does a good job of just zone eyes and finding work, because you never want to stay stagnant in your zone. That's how holes get created and how receivers get open, is people sitting around. As we always criticize the spot drop of the Dick LeBeau era, the spot drop. So he's not standing still. He's finding work. And so we're going to see here, drops, uses his peripherals on Boyd, and just feels where the ball's going, but he gets depth first, and then ends up undercutting Boyd just by reading Dalton's eyes and knowing where the ball's going here. So here, week 5 against the Ravens, and we're going to see Mike Hilton playing a little bit closer to the line and more of a apex linebacker type position here. And Ravens are going to run an outside zone concept to the other side of the field with the option of a cutback, and that's what Mark Ingram does here. Good containment by T.J. Watt and others on the other end. As for the Steelers scheme, they're running a stunt where Bud Dupree becomes the contained player, and Mike Hilton actually becomes the primary run fill for cutback inside of him, which he does perfectly. One thing Mike Hilton's always been great at is blitz timing. Shows it here, gets in the backfield, makes an aggressive tackle, and once again, I don't know how many third safeties you're going to find that can even make plays like this, and I'd argue Hilton's the perfect guy for their big nickel package. So just before half against the Ravens here, week 5, and Mike Hilton's lone interception on the year comes out of a cover 3 scheme for the Steelers here. So Hilton's buzzing out to the flat as the nickel defender, and does a good job here of midpointing this levels concept from the Ravens, where they're just running 2 outs and trying to see where Hilton goes and throw it either behind him or in front of him. So Hilton does a good job here. Initially charges up towards Willie Snead on the shorter out before feeling what's behind him, just maybe film study, maybe instincts, but is able to sink right under it for an easy interception and a big play for the Steelers right before half to get them back into the game. So week 6 against the Chargers here, and the Steelers in a cover 3 scheme, which leaves Mike Hilton at the bottom of the screen playing a skiff technique, which stands for seam, curl, flat. So first you're going to protect the seams, the first weakness of cover 3. Then you're going to look to the curl window, the second weakness of cover 3. And third, you're going to rally to the flat, the third but least important weakness of cover 3, because you can rally to it and there's still going to be time to make gains. So we're going to see first here, he's taken upfield by the seam curl window that Keenan Allen's running, sitting down. So he initially takes away Phillip Rivers' read there before Phillip Rivers dumps it to the flat late to Travis Benjamin, where Mike Hilton, along with Devin Bush, show great pursuit to the football. Mike Hilton taking the outside, Devin Bush taking the inside, and the Steelers are able to vice tackle him for no gain in the red zone. So great pursuit here, and you see why the Steelers are such a great defense. So here, fourth quarter against the Dolphins, Steelers protecting a 10-point lead, and they opt to go with Tampa 2 look here. So a lot of bluffing at the line of scrimmage. Mike Hilton partakes, bluffing coming off the edge as a rusher before dropping deep into his hook curl zone, and then eventually rallying to the football and punching it out with a peanut punch. And that's a big thing you saw from the Steelers this year is A, the effort rallying to the football, but B, understanding that if you're going to get there late, guys don't always have the best ball security when they don't know someone's coming. So take a punch at the ball and secure the tackle. Mike Hilton does a great job of that here, wrapping up while also punching through the ball, eventually recovered by Steven Nelson, and seals another victory for the Steelers. So just great pursuit by Mike Hilton here, great effort, and a great forced turnover on the play, impact play. So Steelers in more of that big nickel type world here. We're going to see Mike Hilton lined up basically as a third linebacker, and the Colts end up running an inside zone. And we're just going to see a great linebacker level fit here from Mike Hilton. So knows that the lineman is flowing in a certain way, big guy, it's going to take him a long time to stop, and knowing that it's not advantageous to let himself engage with him. So Mike Hilton's able to just use his quick feet to beat the lineman, stay clean, and eventually makes a nice tackle for 2 yards. And this is the biggest thing you get with Mike Hilton is you can put a slot quality coverage guy out there without losing anything in run defense, as he's one of the best pure run defenders on the team. So just a great run fill for Mike Hilton here, and part of why he's so valuable. So late in the fourth quarter here, Steelers protecting a 2-point lead against the Colts, and Mike Tomlin and Keith Butler dial a 5-man pressure, playing cover 3 behind it. And just an insanely good effort play here from Mike Hilton. We're going to see not only, as always, times his blitz great off the edge, comes in undetected, but is able to beat Marlon Mack's block to the inside, forcing Brian Hoyer to step up to his left, where Mike Hilton then gets up off the ground and gets the sack. So Mike Hilton does his job on the blitz, forces Brian Hoyer to step up where Anthony Chickillo should be waiting, but Hilton's not content there. He wants to make the play himself. So forces the step up and eventually gets up for the sack. Great hustle play from Hilton. So here, week 9 against the Rams, and was probably the Steelers' best overall defensive performance of the season. We're going to see Mike Hilton come off the edge and make a run stop for a short gain of about 3 yards. So first off, Mike Hilton gives a false key, lining up in press with eyes on the receiver to give a man look, before eventually backing up for the better angle, coming clean off the edge on a blitz, and then bending down the edge, making an aggressive shot to get Gurley down for a gain of 3 yards here. And while not on the same level of instinctual football IQ, as I don't know if we'll ever see that again, the way Mike Hilton sacrifices his body down after down in the run game really reminds me of Troy Polamalu more than anyone. And I just love seeing, especially an undersized guy like Hilton, play with reckless abandon like this. And it just provides energy to your defense. So great play from Hilton. So later in the game against the Rams, 2nd and 1, and the Steelers opt for a cover 1 blitz. Mike Hilton coming out of the slot, Minkah Fitzpatrick playing free safety over the top as a free defender, everyone else in man coverage, and Hilton showing us what we've seen ever since 2017 when it took the NFL by storm is he's probably the best nickel defender in the league at blitzing off the edge. It just times it so well. Here comes shot out of a cannon and puts an absolute lick on Jared Goff before he's even able to really get his head around, forcing Goff to make the errant throw and allowing Terrell Edmonds and Vince Williams to combine for a tackle for loss on the play. And the Steelers would eventually go on to get a 3-and-out on this possession. So critical play by Hilton, great timing off the edge, and once again, just wreaking havoc in the backfield, playing at 1,000 miles an hour. So here, Week 11 against the Browns, and Steelers go with a pretty interesting cover 3 concept. So we're going to see Cam Sutton very late bails to the deep middle third, and both Minkah Fitzpatrick and Terrell Edmonds buzz down into the hook curl zone. So an interesting kind of inverted cover 3 here. And we're going to see a good job by Mike Hilton here, who initially is going to bail out to a deep flat, getting a lot of depth here, and playing from top down before making a nice aggressive tackle on Jarvis Landry, short of the sticks on 3rd and long. So just good, sound defense, good pursuit of the ball, and a nice wrinkle by Mike Tomlin and Keith Butler here. So later in the game against the Browns, and we're just going to see a good job by Mike Hilton here, defending against a scramble drill, broken play type situation. So the general rule for a cornerback is that on a scramble drill type play, if the receiver ran a short route, he's going to try to go deep when he sees the scramble, and if he ran a deep route, he's going to try to work back to the ball, which is exactly what Jarvis Landry does here. Initially runs a deep route, Hilton's all over him. He feels that the timing's been a little too long and that Baker's scrambling to his right, where Baker's really at his best scrambling to his right, and he works back to the football. Hilton does a great job of being ready for it, seeing the scramble drill, and staying right in Landry's hip pocket before playing through the hands for a nice pass breakup here. So week 12 against the Bengals here, we're going to take a look at a built-in check into the Steelers defense with their apex defender coming on a blitz. So here, Mike Hilton has man coverage on the Bengals slot receiver here, and when the slot receiver motions away, Mike Hilton becomes a free apex defender to his side, which in the Steelers defense, as we've seen throughout the season with multiple different players, Hilton, Barron, when the apex defender becomes free to that side, depending on the coverage, they can then free themselves up for an automatic go on a free blitz off the edge. So that's exactly what Hilton does here. He does a good job of disguising it, rolling down as late as possible, and then tracking down the cutback by Mixon here for no gain. So just good disguise by Mike Hilton and an interesting wrinkle in the Steelers defense with an automatic go based on different situations. So 3rd and 3 in the fourth quarter here, and Steelers come out in a cover 1 look with Minka Fitzpatrick playing over the top. Mike Hilton and man against Tyler Boyd. And the Bengals actually run a pretty good man beater right here with a mesh concept. And Mike Hilton does a really good job of sifting through the trash, getting over the top of Devin Bush before aggressively driving to Boyd and finishing with a violent and aggressive finish through the hands here. So good job on the breakup by Hilton, and really good job staying with a great receiver like Tyler Boyd all the way across the field and eventually making a great play. So we'll take a look at the finish here. You'll see Hilton hands through, gets hands on the ball, and also finishes with an aggressive tackle. So later in the game here, in a series in which the Steelers cornerbacks would have 3 straight pass breakups, Mike Hilton with one here on 1st and 10. So Bengals just run a slant out of the slot here. Mike Hilton with the man coverage on Erickson out of the slot, and does a really good job staying patient. Doesn't let himself backpedals with very short read steps, seeing what's in front of him, keeping everything in front of him, and then eventually aggressively driving on Erickson, securing the tackle while playing through the hands, and just an overall great play from Hilton here. So week 16 against the Jets here, and we're going to see a high IQ play by Mike Hilton. Steelers in cover 1 with Minka Fitzpatrick over the top and everyone else in man underneath. Mike Hilton has man on the Jets slot receiver, Jamison Crowder, and Mark Barron has man on Tyler Montgomery, who's coming out of the backfield. So Jets actually dial up a pretty good man beater here with a slant and then into the flat for Montgomery. So Mark Barron should be picked, and it should be a big gain here. Mike Hilton actually saved this play with good communication, giving an in call, telling Mark Barron, stay where you are, and you can pick up the slot receiver on the slant, and I'll go pick up the flat where Tyler Montgomery's running his route. So just a good example of how good communication can beat even coverage mistakes and scheme mistakes. So just good play by Mike Hilton here and showing more of why he's a high IQ integral member of the Steelers defense. So week 17 against the Ravens here, and Mike Hilton comes away with a sack off the nickel blitz, initially lining up pressed before using the motion to then move off and get a better angle on the blitz, coming undetected off the edge and sharing the sack here with T.J. Watt. So just great timing by Mike Hilton on the blitz and more of the playmaking that we saw from him all season. He's just an invaluable piece to the Steelers defense. And while this might be the last season we watch of Mike Hilton on the Steelers with the decision on him and Cam Sutton coming up, Cam Sutton, undeniably, I would say the better coverage player of the two. Mike Hilton's such a unique defender in today's league in that he's a primarily 1st and 2nd down slot defender, and he's great at what he does. He's, like I said, 2nd in the league since he came into the league in tackles for a loss, and just provides invaluable run defense to the Steelers defense, allows them to stay in sub packages much more than they normally could, especially in a tough AFC North that runs the football a lot. So really got to appreciate what you get from a guy like Mike Hilton, and he just energizes the whole defense. Such a spark plug out there for him. But once again, great season from Mike Hilton, and really impressed by what I saw from him this year. Thought he took a step up from last season in terms of his coverage. So finishing up the series, next we're going to take a look at Cam Sutton, which I'm really excited for because might be the single most underrated player on the entire team. So once again, great season for Mike Hilton, and we'll be back at you guys soon with the Cam Sutton video.